Summer 2015, where Lebanese people should cover themselves with sunscreen and enjoy the beach season, they cover their faces with mouthpieces. Streets and sidewalks have been filled with trash overnight as the Lebanese garbage crisis escalates with the closing of the garbage dump. Due to the closing of Naam landfill, the rubbish wasn't collected anymore. That time, Lebanon do not had a functional government for more than 1 year. Thus, political leaders had no plan to find a quick solution. Protests spring up across Beirut. Initially gathering tens, hundreds and finally 100,000 people demonstrated peacefully against the inactivity of political leaders. Instead of searching for solutions to end the crisis, leaders give out orders to beat the peaceful protesters with batons, gas and spray them with water cannons.
We were following the garbage truck that were dumping the garbage in the river, in the valley, everywhere in the country. And we were following some key minister and some of our colleagues threw some garbage on the house of the minister or on the cars of some minister to explain to them that it's not acceptable to make all Beirut a big and all Mount Lebanon a big landfill.
Lebanon is a multi-confessionalist republic and organized along sectarian lines. All official authorities are allocated by sectarian quota. These sectarian groups are also reflected in the media system.
This political link between media and political stakeholders is very strong. It remains so. It fluctuates sometimes, but because of the intense political battle, we see that in times of crises, now even the most liberal, most commercialized media institutions sometimes have to give in to political pressures and serve these political elite.
When the protests started in 2015, all Lebanese media, regardless of their sectarian affiliation, covered on the waste crisis in a critical way.
It got a lot of attention, it got a lot of support from across the board because this was a crisis that touched every Lebanese. And the media actually rallied around the cause. But as the protests continued and grew larger and more powerful, and then there was a fear also from the government, and also people realized that the garbage crisis is intrinsically connected to the political system, the corruption that exists on the political system, and that you cannot treat the garbage crisis without, touching upon the corruption that exists on the level of the country. The rhetoric became more politicized, and the media had to, in the end, even the media that were really supporting the two, most commercialized stations that were really supporting this movement at the end had to take a step back and bow down to the political pressures because, in effect, they're beholden. All the media in Lebanon is to a certain, extent beholden to the political sectarian elite.
Besides the traditional mass media, the power of social media increased. Under the hashtag #YouStink, people organized the protests and vent their anger.
From a social media point of view, it was what brought people somehow together. I would also say that the hashtag that they used and the name of the movement, which is YouStink, was so powerful because it has to do with the garbage that it was stinking, the whole city, the whole country was stinking, but also it says something about politicians, people telling politicians you stink. And I would say one of the few times that the government and politicians were somehow affected by this.
Because the waste crisis affected people of all ages and backgrounds, the YouStink movement offered a chance to bring people together and overcome sectarian borders for a while.
Everybody went to these protests in the beginning, but then again, once they, moved beyond the garbage crisis, because the garbage crisis is symbolic of the crisis that exists on the level of the country, mainly corruption and nepotism and all that. There were some sensitivities that started to emerge. So initially, yes, there was support from across the board, but once they started pointing fingers that actually the whole political sectarian elite are responsible, there were some sensibilities that came out, and people were reluctant to support it because, okay, you're attacking, my leader and not attacking the other leader. And when you attack all the leaders, do you also mean, X, Y, and Z?
For me personally, I would say it's good. It did bring people together, more sensitized toward one unified Lebanon. So yes, when they had that one cause, they did go together. But once you go into the details of the whole movement and the cause, I'm pretty sure that the sectarian problems will start to come again, because it again will go down to who's to blame for what.
Although the Distinct movement mobilized people of different groups, the people were sensitive with criticism of their own leader. The movement opened a chance to create one Lebanon. Regardless that a lot of people attended the protests and the digital movement, the waste crisis is still an ongoing problem and no long-term solution was found. Instead of opening a landfill that is far away from the city, the garbage is stored at the beach or thrown into the sea.